along this block, right? And you have to, there's some sort of city ordinance where you have to live in the building with the most tenants. This is where I do a lot of my thinking, you know? Like if I get a block in my writing, I'll just come out here and hang out with my tree. I'm just gonna talk to him. Just like King George talked to his guys, you know?
You talk to your tree.
Yeah, I talk to my tree.
He gives you suggestions?
Well, not really. He just kind of sits there.
Doesn't talk back like, you know.
No, but the tree's a really good listener. It's actually a great friend.
He's just glad that you're not making him paper at this point, probably.
Yeah, I'm carving my initials in his trunk.
Oh, hey, you can reach that far?
Oh, you can climb out there and hang out.
So, what has the tree inspired lately?
I have been looking into Chinese and Japanese cultures. Just, you know, you get into like weird little trends. So I've just kind of been into reading some translations of some Japanese texts and different time periods. Fascinating culture. They were so isolated, especially Japan, for like so many years. Because, you know, Western thought, like, since Plato was around, Greece, you know, 3,000 years ago, we've had similar ideas kicking around. You know, like he has been in the collective conscious of like Western Europe, but in Japan, they're completely different. They were so isolated. They have their own complete history. It's has no interaction with Arabic cultures and with like Greek cultures and the Roman culture. None of that bleeds into the Japanese culture. So it's kind of interesting. They have just a very different structure, different viewpoint. Even their modern literature, even after the mingling, the Western writers are considered very intellectual. And, well, it's hard to describe. It deals with emotions. It's almost like you're dealing with an entirely different mindset. Like an example of a you know, it's the emotions are very restrained. The emotions are there, but it's almost the ideas that drive the piece. Whereas in Japanese, it's the emotions that drive the piece, even in intellectual works, you know. And it's interesting. It's very interesting. It's a very different approach to.
Instead of emotions causing the war, they drive the peace.
Something like that. Like the I'm trying to think of who would be a good example. Like when you read his books, you get as much drawn in by the concepts, which are good, as you are by the characters. He writes really good, just like really associate with them characters who have very running emotions. You know?
Yeah, definitely. He gets into a lot of detail about his characters and where they're coming from and what they're thinking. And
right.
What's happening with them.
And what they're feeling. Whereas the Japanese, like the lead character would come out and be like, Suki jumps in his Volvo. He hated driving the Volvo in the rain. Rain always made him sad, remind him of his mother's death. You know, it brings up things like that, which what's a catch-all for like emotionalism. You know,
Okay.
Much more about the feeling than it is about the ideas. The ideas are not as well connected. It's like a haiku. Are you familiar with like poetries and stuff? Haiku is just like 5 or 7 lines of very stylized, and it just gives a few brush strokes that create a picture. You know, it's interesting. It's interesting stuff. You know, it's and just because it's totally different, that's why it interests me. You know, as trying to be the well-rounded author. It's important to like scout out all the different areas.